Thanks for checking into the channel and identifying how to do everything the wrong way. The razor is on the lift because I think I'm actually going to install those off-road beast trailing arms. First things first. Do you remember when we were doing this factory UTV and the review that I gave on them for the frickin' bolts? So, it's got 5 rows of bolts. They're all different. They have different heads on them, so you need a different socket for each one of them, different lengths, all of that. So this is what I did. I took out 1 row at a time. I labeled it. This one I forgot to write first row on there, but anyways, it's written on there. Rear skid plate, frontmost bolts. These, the long ones, so there's 2 long ones and 1 short one. Long ones go on the outside. Second row and third row, all of those are the same. One of those was missing. Fourth row, these are Torx. These are all 10 millimeter. And fifth row, these are 3/8. So we're gonna take that off. Just because trying to pry that and doing all that was kind of a pain in the butt. We're going to take that all the way out of there. We got to lower the lift back down so we can get the arms back out of there. Then we'll lift it back up. We can get to everything a little easier. Skid plate removed. So start taking some stuff apart, shall we? We're showing my father-in-law Japan Customs Carl Fisher video because he really likes that truck. Anyways, that there guy Carl Fisher has inspired me to do something on this that I haven't done for a while. So I got the knuckle off of there. What I've been doing is I've been keeping track of where all the bolts are at. So you've seen my baggies for my skid plate, and then here I just put the bolts right back in where they came from. This way I don't lose track of them. Alright, so I gotta take and drill all these rivets out, and then I'm gonna take this off and I'm gonna take that whole arm out of there. Alright, I have not unwrapped these to check the powder coat out, so you're gonna watch with me. They look pretty.
So let's have a look up here. Like I said, we got no dash. So my dash is
Alright, my next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see the weight difference between them.
I'm going to show you guys how I did this set up. While we're in here, let's look at the rest of it. We've got fabricated steering column that's built in. It's solid. We got
So it's 38.4.
Here. This is my clutch. We moved a little bit. Brake. So there's my clutch pedal, my brake pedal. They actually share the same fulcrum, the same pivot point.
This one is 55.6. So quite a bit beefier.
And then I've actually got my master cylinder for my brakes right here.
Alright, I'm gonna have to find the rest of my parts. I gotta press in the uniball here. Clean that all up. I got this one hung up here. Got the shock holding it on there. The front pivot's on there. Right now what I'm doing is I am putting these all where they need to go so I can run these rivets in there. Get this back to where it needs to be. And I can put the knuckle on there. And probably before I do that, I need to put the tow bar in there because that's what I learned on the other one. Alright, next thing on the trailing arms is the tow bar, which I believe this one is a passenger one. This is the factory one, and you can see the factory one's got a slot in it for adjustability. And I have these on here backwards, so this is actually that side, which may be a little confusing, but it doesn't matter. All I'm looking for is center to center, which that factory one measures 44.5. I buried this all the way in there, and I tried to set it up, and this thing was steered like way out in order to do that, so that's clearly not right. So what I'm trying to do is come up with a way that I could measure 44.5 with this one with the bend on it. So what I need to do is I need to basically have something that spreads this gap between there. So I'm just kind of setting this up right now just to kind of eyeball it, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to get it more perfect. Or So here is one method of doing this, is go find about the center of that bolt to the furthest point out here, 44 and an eighth, and then the center of the bolt on the opposite side to the furthest point out on the opposite side, 44 and 5/8, and then you split the difference. So 5/8 and 1/8 is 1/4, right? The difference between the two of those is a 1/4 difference. So this is still too short. So we got to extend this high mount. So we'll just go one full turn, lift back together. And I'm trying to keep even gap between these tubes here. Let's do the same thing again. 44 and a 1/4. .44 and 5/8. So that's 1, 2, 3/8. So half of 3/8 would be 3/16, right? So we need to go out just a little bit further in order to be the center of this. And we'll just double check the center of the factory one. 44 and a half, which I figured if we go to 44 and a half as dead center, that's going to be the best that we can go. And split the difference between those. And 3/16. 44 and 5/8. We still need to go a little bit further. All right, so let's see if that is close enough. Might be closer. We're not gonna know if it's perfectly lined up until we set it back down on the ground. So I'll put the rest of this on there. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side, just make sure that tow bar is 44 and a half, like the factory one. All right, it's all the way together. I checked for clearance with the brake line. Brake line's clear of everything. I did have to flip this bracket. I had it the other way, so it was pinching. So I flipped that around. Everything looks like it's good. This has got a little bit of interference right there at full droop, but I imagine when it goes up, that's gonna try and correct itself. This is all tight up here. Also, those are tight. Everything is tight. And put the wheel back on there. And then move on to the other side, maybe. All right, before I take this one off, here's a little side-by-side comparison. Factory one, off-road beast. Man, it almost seems like if the other one was on there, because then this would be higher. Like maybe I put the wrong frickin' arm on there. I might have put the wrong arm on there, fellers. That's okay, I'm not the smartest. Let's see a side profile. See how this is hidden here? But look at how much higher this is. You look straight across there. Quite a bit of a difference. But I'm almost thinking that this one is that side, because it's hanging lower than that. But we'll figure it out. You want to know what I just discovered? Left-hand threads. So this is right-hand threads into the arm, and this is left-hand threads there. So if you have this bolted in and this bolted in, you just turn this nut, you could extend or retract. So I'm just taking it all the way apart so I can NICs the crap out of it. And then all that, you know, stuff we were doing earlier where we were pre-measuring it probably didn't hurt nothing, but not necessarily necessary. We're just going to put way too much NICs on there because there's no such thing as too much. And then we want to put some on the female part of this. Try and schmutz it around. Give it its best chance of not seizing. And then see, instead of turning it this way, we got to turn it this way. Let's thread it in there. Right hand thread. Off-road beast was thinking. I just was being an idiot. You know another way to tell this really easy too? Whenever you find a nut that has a notch like that, means it's right hand threads. You don't believe me? Look at bottles on your welder. We've got peroxyacetylene. One of them, I don't remember which one, is left-hand thread and one's right-hand thread, so you can't crisscross applesauce them. Well, you just learned something. So the way that these threads are typically designed, which I'm assuming Off-Road Beast did the same, is you're supposed to bottom it out. This way you've got the same amount of thread and everything. And then when you adjust it with this fixed and that fixed. This way you have a little bit of thread on the nut unthread and a little bit of thread on the high mud thread. So you're even threads. Thanks for checking into the channel and identifying how to do everything the wrong way. Yeah, see, if you put the other arm in there, you know, there's no clearance, interference there. Yeah, and then see how it's up high with this? That's because, you know, I have the driver on the passenger, passenger on the driver and whatnot. Yeah. All right, let's get back to working on the other side. All right, remember what I was telling you about that whole left thread, right thread, all that stuff? Watch this. You're watching how it's moving? It's because I'm adjusting this nut. That nut right there. So I am going out like this, and it is threading out of this because it's one thread, and it's threading out of this because it's the opposite thread. Left hand, right hand. So all you gotta do is turn this like this, and it's lengthening that bar. Once you get it dialed into where you want it, you put these pinch bolts in there, pinch it down, and then you're good to go. I have identified my first problem. I went to go put the wheel on there. I don't even have the lug nuts tight. So the issue is the factory wheel back spacing is too tight, or I just need to adjust the toe way out. So I don't know exactly where it's sitting. I have the front wheels kind of turned, which kind of throws this way off. But if we can get the front so it's kind of aimed forward-ish, that might be too far. Then is the rear aimed forward-ish, or is the rear towed way in? So maybe the rear is just towed way in. We're gonna hope that if we tow the rear out, that this isn't a problem. Because, oh boy, if this is a problem, this is gonna frustrate me, because this is the third set of trailing arms. Factory, L&W, Off-Road Beast. We don't want to do that. Good news. Lug nuts are tight. This is moving. That's where my adjustment is so far on toe. So not very far out, extended, lengthening the arm. And then that is where my clearance is from the tire. But it is a round tube, so if it rubs a little bit because of deflection, I'm not super concerned about that. Once again, we have not done an alignment yet. Just calling it out. Might want to check that before you tighten your wheel. I still don't know what it's going to look like once we drop it down and do an alignment. But I'm going to go over the passenger side, put the wheel on there, and double check. I did want to call out the reason why I took the sway or the what's it called? Skid plate off is because getting access to these, this is for the tow bar, is way easier. These are 21 millimeter on the nut and on the head. Same with the trailing arms, 21 nut in the head. All of this stuff back here, that's all of the bolts that bolt the knuckle on, 21 millimeter. Shock, 21 millimeter. This guy is 18 millimeter. So this has got the Fox electronic disconnects, but it's the same factory bolt that's in there. So you need all of that. This guy, I think that's 15 millimeter. Is that what I was using? Yeah, 15 millimeter. And then if you're gonna put rivets in here, you need a rivet tool. So they send you rivets. I just got this cheapo one from Harbor Freight. This little rivet setter thing. I have no idea what brand this is. Anyways, that's what you need for tools to do this. I'm just going through making sure I got all the bolts on this side tight. This no longer is adjustable here, since you sacrifice that by giving up on these factory tow bars to make these arms work. These go together. This is all a kit. So now all of your adjustment is up here, which is that guy. But anywho, let's put the wheel on this side. Maybe helpful for you if you're doing this install. But what I did is these are just finger tight, these lug nuts. And I'm not gonna use an impact yet because that's dragging. So what I need to do is I need to fix the length of the tow bar. So I'm trying to put you back here so you can kind of see the alignment with the front. It looks like that tire is towed way in, which would mean that the front side of the tire here, so front of the vehicle is that way, is too tight to the trailing arm. So then all you do is you grab your 1.25" wrench and you adjust that. 1.25" wrench. Put it on that there guy. And we need to make that shorter. So we got to screw this in. So I unscrewed it too far, I think is what I did. I didn't know how far to go, so I just picked something. So let's try and see if we can tighten those lug nuts down and see if that's dragging still. So that did go on there, that tire. Lug nuts are tight. I think I only did 2 of them. I should probably check and make sure that all 5 are tight. Definitely only did 2. All right, all 5 are tight. Let's give it a wiggle. So it's not, so that means it's not dragging. The next thing I wanted to do is I want to start off with both of these about the same gap. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to measure how these are adjusted on either side, referencing the trailing arm to the knuckle. So here's what I opted to do, is because it's really easy to measure the same thing, is just put the tape measure in here against the face of the wheel and then measure to that point there. So 5 13/16. See it? Same thing on this side. So this one. Oops. Hold on, let me get you resituated here. I'm trying to hold the phone and everything. Ooh, that's like 5 and measure in the same spot. It's like 5 5/8. So this one is a little bit closer than that one. So what I'll do is I'll adjust this a tiny bit so that this one matches that one. Is there a better way to do this? Probably. Yeah, do it your own freaking way. All right, stop judging. I put it on the ground. I drove it outside and I turned it around. It's not done aligned, but look at this freaking clearance. The freaking bar is as high as the skid plate on the belly. That's awesome. Oh, dang. Look at those things. Let's do an alignment on this thing, shall we? I got this here on there. It's a quick performance little alignment dealer whopper. But what it's got these little slots at the end. So you just take a measuring tape and measure front, outside's the front. That's a kitty. Outside's the front, outside's the rear. And I just read the manual, and it shows 0.5 degrees plus or minus 0.45. So basically you're shooting for 0 to 0.5. Kitty, if you frickin' knock that off of there, we got problems, right? But let's see what we're measuring here. So the first thing that I wanted to check is how close either side is to one another. So that is 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sixteenths. And this is, come on, focus, 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, a half. Is that a half? Is that what you're seeing as a half? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like a half. So this side is in a 16th further than that side. Do we care? No, I don't care about a 16th. But I got this side in there. This freaking cat. So this is 80 and a quarter. Pop this out of there. We've got 2 matching tape measures that go with this. Don't know where they're at. So I'm using one single tape measure. Because the problem is that this little slot is only so big. So the big measuring tapes won't fit in there. So that is 80 and 5/16. So we're towed in a 16th. Once again, do we care about a 16th of an inch on an off-road razor? No, so it's aligned. Very last part of the alignment is tightening those Allen bolts down. That's what clamps the threaded part for the tie rod. So I got to get the wrench for that, tighten those down, and then we're done. Well, then we got to put the skid plate on there. See how you could see through there? All right, the clamping bolts are clamping now. So technically that, the trailing arms can't adjust themselves anymore. So I think that's it for this video. Maybe the next one we'll be out testing it out. Hopefully. We'll see. There's so many other projects happening. Oh my God. Okay, bye.